Hi, my name's Ollie. I'm an outdoor instructor here at Hampshire Outdoor Centre.
And my name is Angus, and I'm also an instructor here at Hampshire Outdoor Centre.
And today we're going to be learning about fires, how we light fires, different types of lays, what do we need to create a fire.
So basically a beginner fire lighting session going through. Let's crack on.
Right, there's a few reasons why we have fires. We can use it for warmth, we can use it for light, we can use it for comfort if we're just gathered round a fire. We can use it to communicate with people if we're stuck out in the woods somewhere. And we can also use it for cooking. And within cooking, we can use it to kill bacteria in water.
So when we are starting a fire, we need three main ingredients. These ingredients are classed as a fire triangle or the fundamentals of fire. That is listed just here. One is heat, one is oxygen, and one is fuel. Next, we are going to talk about our preparation for our fire. So one of those things in the fire triangle is fuel. Okay, when we're looking for fuel, we're looking for kindling to begin with. So in our kindling, we have our ones, which is really small kindling. We then have two, which are our bigger kindling, and then our threes, which are even bigger kindling. So when we start a fire, we're going to start off by adding our number ones, nice and small, then our number twos, a little bit bigger, finally our number threes, which are a bit larger. Once these have set alight, we're then going to start putting some bigger logs on the fire.
So when we're building our fire, we need to put out our sticks in a certain way. These are called lays, and there are many different variations. So the first lay we're going to talk about is called a tent lay or a teepee lay. This is very good for warmth and for light. However, because there's a lot of oxygen going through it, it dissipates quite quickly. So the next lay we're going to talk about is the V lay. And this is very good for windy conditions because it stops the wind coming onto the fire. However, it stops the oxygen coming through, so the fire struggles to get large. This lay is called a star lay, and this is very good for a small fire, and it keeps burning for a long, long time. So if we're going to be sleeping out, this is the fire to use. And finally, this is the box lay. This is very good for creating a large fire, and as it dissipates, it creates a really good surface for cooking. However, similar to the teepee lay, a lot of oxygen gets through it and it doesn't last very long.
Okay guys, we're now going to start to light our fire. To light our fire, we're going to need something to ignite it, that heat source. So this is called a ferro rod. Some people may have known it as called a flint and steel, but this is actually a ferro rod. They're a very useful piece of kit to have, and I advise most people have them in their survival kit when they do that. It creates a spark. When that white spark is ignited, that burns at 2000 degrees. It's really important we use it correctly. So when we're holding it, we need to hold it in both thumbs, pushing down at a 45-degree angle on both the rod and the actual metal. We're going to push down to create a spark, which goes down into our fire. We're now about to light our fire. So what we're going to make sure is that 45-degree angle, and we're making a spark, and we're pushing the spark onto the fibres of the cotton wool that we've got going here. Once this does ignite, we need to make sure we're feeding the fire to keep it going. So now it's starting to go. We're going to start to feed it with our twos and our threes. Because the fire's starting to build, we need to start to add a few more bits of kindling to it. And as you can see with that pyramid, that tent teepee, the fire is really building up into the middle there. So we're trying to keep it as high as we can to keep that heat upwards. As soon as it does collapse, what tends to happen is the fire will die down. So if we try and keep that pyramid tent lay going as much as we can, it'll keep the fire going. So if we need to get more oxygen to the fire, what we can do, we can get nice and low and we're going to produce more oxygen for the fire. So we'll give it a long blow. So instead of going just, we want a nice long blow. Obviously the fire is going, so it doesn't really need the oxygen. But if it was starting to go out, we could feed it with a bit more oxygen. So as you can see, with regards to where the wind is blowing, it's blowing from this side. So this whole side is not really burnt, whereas this side has completely burnt. When we are blowing, we want to make sure we're not going too close to the fire, and also making sure we are obviously upwind of where the fire is going. So we're not going to get that blown into our face.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to use a different method. What we're going to be using is a battery, and this is causing a fire using electricity. And this is going to be our heat source relating back to the fire triangle. So what we've got our wire wool here, and we've got our cotton wool. And what we're going to create is basically a circuit, and then the circuit's going to disconnect, and then the circuit's going to connect and disconnect, which causes a spark. I've got my box sleigh ready to be created once I've got the flame. So I'm going to create the flame, and then going to place my 1s and 2s on top, and then create the box sleigh over the top of it. So let's get our fire started. What I'm going to do is just touch the battery onto the wire wool like so. And maybe the other side, and there we go. We've got our flame going. Simple as that. I've now got my 1s and 2s ready. So all I'm going to do is just place these over the flame. These will eventually light. So give that a second just for the flames to catch the 1s and 2s. As you can see, it's slowly going. Remember, if the fire isn't going, you can always introduce more oxygen. So now that fire's going nicely. So we're going to be doing the box sleigh. So all we're going to do is be creating a box. One thing to bear in mind, because you can see the smoke, the wind's blowing this way, you may want to load the box sleigh more to my left because the wind's blowing this direction. So due to the amount of oxygen going through it, the fire will spread very, very quickly. So as the fire grows or even dies down, make sure you introduce more wood. And like we said previously, the box sleigh is very, very good for cooking over. So once the fire goes through the wood and slightly dissipates, it will fall into a natural position, and then you can place your pan or your kettle over the top of the fire.
Brilliant, guys. We've now come to the end of the session. We've got our fire going. This would be a really nice time to gather people round and have a social setting for our fire. We're going to cook some lunch and have that nice food later on.
So if you want to learn more about bushcraft, or you're interested in getting involved in it, you can either come down to Tarbarn here, or you can go on the website to find more information.
And if you guys enjoyed that video, please can you like and subscribe, please give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.
See you later.